The Lions are in a bad spot, by the way. I mean, now they're getting rid of Darius Slay. Tua, here we go. We haven't talked about this yet. Yeah. Tua Tagovailoa, who was a righty at birth, but his dad tied his arm to his side. He became a lefty. One of the most proficient quarterbacks in the history of college football. Whenever he stepped on the field for Alabama and won the national championship in his first half of football, and then he went on, obviously, to be a dynamic player down there, something that just completely changed and flipped the SEC on its head because Alabama, always a very good team, but normally they just relied on their running backs. They won like 10 Heismans with running backs or offensive line and good D play. But then Tua came in there and just became this pick-apart type passer for them. And everybody knew that he was going to go to the NFL at some point. Some humans said, and this is what some humans said that spoke into microphones professionally, said that with Tua at Alabama and the amount of talent that Alabama had, that they could have potentially beat an NFL team. That's what some people were saying. Mm-hmm. Those people obviously very dumb. Those people, very, 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 very stupid people because no college team could ever beat a team of adults. But that's how good Tua was, and that's how good the Alabama team became whenever Tua was playing. Now, here we are, 4 surgeries after 2 years, a couple ankle injuries, a hip injury, a riddled with injury career that had a lot of success in it, still being talked about as a top 5 quarterback pick in the NFL draft because of how good he could possibly be. A lot of people are saying with the number 3 pick, the Detroit Lions are going to take him, move Matty Stafford, who had a broken back last year and has effectively wasted a lot of good years and good numbers with the Detroit Lions without ever really being able to find a stable home up there. Now, Matt Patricia sticking around for a 3rd year is good news because we think you fired Jim Caldwell too early. We think you've done this in the past. You learn from those past mistakes. But that decision to keep Matt Patricia with the Detroit Lions, the Tagovailoa family is saying why they don't want Tua to go to Detroit. Not only do they not want to live in Detroit, they've said that. Mm-hmm. They say now with the coaching situation in Ark, I believe is the way they described it, the coaching situation in Ark, they don't want Tua to get drafted to the Detroit Lions. And with Matt Patricia's record being 9-22-1 as the Lions head coach, get fired in a year and then be stuck in a position where he was a first-round draft pick quarterback for another GM, another coach, and get stuck in a position of flux, which, by the way, I respect and appreciate thinking that deep. If they would have came out and said, we don't want our kid going to Detroit, like I think people would have respected it. I think people would have been like, you know what? A little rude of you to say to the city of Detroit because those people have been through enough, okay? We already know that Detroit is the biggest failing sports city in the history of sports right now. The Pistons are nowhere near 8th place, and their own player just tried to get out of there. Now he joined the Clippers, right? True. I mean, that's what happened. Yep. The guy, the Mr. guy,
Bobby Shmurda.
Yeah, Bobby Shmurda. The Tigers are terrible.
Yep.
The Red Wings are terrible. Yep. The Lions have been stuck in this terrible thing.
Yep.
I mean, Darius Slay is on his way out, one of the best players in football.
Yep.
I mean, it's just like the Detroit fans don't deserve it. So if Tua's family came out and said, we don't want to go to Detroit and just put a period right there, I think a lot of people would be like, well, we can understand that, but you might end up there. Now they're like, listen, not only are we from Hawaii, we're in Alabama, and now people are talking about us going to the Motor City up there near Canada. Not only is that the case, but now we're talking about a potential situation where we're getting drafted to a lame duck coach, which is going to get fired in about a year if he doesn't have a lot of success. Now you're putting our kid in a bad situation business-wise from professionally and personally, and that's not what we want to be a part of. I think that's a good move by the Tagovailoas, and I don't think it matters. I think the Detroit Lions are going to do whatever the hell they want to do no matter what that family says.
I think, and I don't know why Detroit fans get mad when at the idea of drafting Tua.
Oh,
I get mad.
Yeah, like what has Matt Stafford done for you? How many playoff games has Matt Stafford won for you?
He hasn't been the problem, Diggs. It's been everyone else.
Oh.
You guys forget the first 4 games of the season when we were undefeated, he was in the MVP conversation.
You put him in the MVP conversation.
You guys tied the Cardinals, in the first 4 games, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So undefeated is a hilarious. I mean,
still undefeated,
no
losses.
Yeah, great wording, by the way. Maybe you should be the commissioner of the MLB. You had the ability to say something there without saying anything. Well, hello there. Utilize the promo code PAYTHEBILLS and get $20 off your first order from SeatGeek. Now, back to the magic. But Matt Stafford, I think we can all agree, has not been the problem in Detroit.
Absolutely not.
The fact that he gets made fun of for being Pad Statfords, which is that was a lot of time was invested in that for I don't think the big pay
waste of time.
Yeah, a big waste of time. But I respect what they do with Gridiron Heights or whatever it's called. I respect. I just think that one was bad. I think Matthew Stafford does deserve a chance to play potential football for a good team, you know?
Agree.
And if the Lions team are going to be that next year with Matt Patricia continuing to build and in his third year, I'm happy for him. But if it's time to move on to the next quarterback and get Matt Stafford over there, and if you think Patricia's going to be around for a long haul, which Patricia told us that he talks to the Ford family every single week, right?
Smart.
So I assume he knows what's going on and what the future is. I don't think he said there was ever a thought that he was going to get fired. He said that's the way the league is. I get fired tomorrow and all that stuff. So if Tua's the quarterback of the future in Detroit, would that make you happy, Evan Fox?
No, absolutely not. I've said this
Why?
before. Because you got a guy from Hawaii that went to Alabama. He's not going to fit in Detroit. And also, he played.
Pat,
not
going to
Pat,
fit in.
He's not.
You cannot
Pat,
say. You
What
can.
the hell
Well, you
does that
got a
mean?
problem with Oos?
He already came out and said he doesn't want to be in Detroit. Also,
family sources.
Yeah, it's his family. It's
his
sources.
family's toxic. You know what? You remember when they won?
Whoa!
Do you guys correct me if I'm wrong? When they won that national championship with Tua, and then in the offseason they decided, is it going to be Jalen Hurt or is it going to be Tua? When they said, if it's Jalen Hurt, I'm transferring. Do you guys remember that?
I mean, what if
Well,
it's
the dad is a businessman. I
What if
mean, he
it's
made his kid a lefty because he knew that would make him more money. I mean, his dad is a hard-nosed individual. I think we all know that from the 30 for 30 or whatever and everything we've heard about it. But I wonder if this is Lions leaking this information, saying this
Yes.
information so that other people can want to get up there. I wonder if this is Tua's agents leaking information. You got to remember, this time of year, you have no clue who's talking about what. You have there's smoke screens coming out. Like Cincinnati Bengals trading away their number one pick. Somebody's going to have a source close to the Brown family. It's going to say they're thinking about trading away the number one pick just so that they could potentially hear other options and get baited out of there so Joe Burrow can go elsewhere. You have no clue who's lying to anybody about anything. It's an insane time in the NFL.
On Monday, there was reports that the Dolphins are are grading Herbert higher than Tua now.
Exactly.
That's just all smoke.
Exactly. It's all a lie.
What if the Lions is a Kansas City Chiefs situation where they had Alex Smith and they drafted Mahomes, and the Lions have Stafford, now they draft Tua and Tua becomes a star?
Do you have him sit behind him for a year like what happened with Aaron Rodgers and Brett and all that stuff? That'd be interesting. I think Tua is in a redshirt year. I think everybody agrees that Tua's going to redshirt next year just strictly because of the hip issue potentially, but they're saying he's going to be back healthy 100%.
See, that's what scares me, though. You're behind the Alabama offensive line. You're never going to have a better offensive line in football at any level, and the Lions clearly never do have a good offensive line.
By the way, I think I said that on game day or something. I said that just because I assumed. I had a lot of people come after me. They were like, that Alabama offensive line you think is the best in the country? Have you seen them boys in Georgia? Have you seen them boys?
Yeah, those are the SEC maniacs that we witnessed, though.
I was like, no, I haven't actually. I just said that because I assumed it.